All right, so this is my Black Panther video number 16. Oh, this is the first time I've said the video number with the video. Um, okay, so this movie was actually really cool. This was the last movie in release order before Infinity War, and it was so cool. I remember when the movie was first announced. I first so the Infinity Stones were obviously a crucial part of Infinity War for obvious reasons, and up to I think November 2016 was the last time we saw the second to last Infinity Stone, which was the Time Stone, from Doctor Strange. And I was like coming up with all these theories on like which movie the Soul Stone might come out in, and I remember doing like a ton of research, and like the Soul Stone was like the most strongest stone out of all of them. Although it's still unsure what the stone individually does, because sorry, because it's clear like what each other stone does on its own, but the Soul Stone, it's I'm not sure what it does on its own, and I kind of wanted to see what it would have done on its own, but it just kind of it wasn't focused on that much, and I really wanted, you know, more emphasis on the Soul Stone. Not just I mean, it got a lot of emphasis in terms of like a soul for a soul, but like, what does it do? What does a soul stone individually do as a group? Like, what does it bring to the table? Every stone brings like carries its own weight. What does a soul stone do? Because the soul stone just shows up last minute and like, oh my god, it's important. But what does a soul stone really do? That's the big question. But that's not relevant, kind of. Right. Anyways, so after 2016, after Doctor Strange, I was like, all right, what movie is this also going to come out in? And I was like, oh, Volume 2. And then Gunn said, I think he tweeted, or he said something before the movie came out. I was like, oh, it's not going to have anything to do with, Infinity War or anything. I was like, okay, fair, And then, what's the other movie? I think Ragnarok. I was like, it's definitely not going to come out in Spider-Man Homecoming. Are you kidding? Like, can you imagine that? That would suck. That would be very lame. That would be cool in the sense of like, whoa, like Spider-Man dealing with the Soul Stone, but like really that's not his area. So it would have been really lame. And then Ragnarok, I thought it was gonna be in Ragnarok, and then when what's his face? Jeff Goldblum. What's his name? The Grandmaster. When the Grandmaster shows up with his staff and it's orange, and like he kills a dude and like he melts. I was like, I was with one of my friends. He was sitting next to me. I'm pretty sure he was sitting on my left. He's sitting on my left, and I was like, the Soul Stone, but it wasn't. It wasn't it. And then and I think a few months before Black Panther came out, they were talking. I was looking into it, and I came across the ancestral plane in terms of like the grand Black Panther lore, right? And I remember talking to my brother at the time, and I was like, oh, like the ancestral plane and this and that, like the Soul Stone, maybe like it's connected or whatever, but then that would mean that there are three stones on Earth, and like that's not very safe. But then it's like, wouldn't that just mean Earth is like a really big target in terms of every other planet, like place in the galaxy? Like there are three stones on Earth, you know. Yeah, like all the other three stones are scattered. The space stone is in Asgard. Um, the power stone is in Xandar, and the reality stone is on nowhere. And he was like, what do you say? Like three stones on Earth. That's pretty big target. That encourages Thanos to go to Earth even more. And I was like, you're right. So for a long time, I thought the the Soul Stone was in Wakanda in terms of the ancestral plane. And I was pretty excited to see that because I was like, I cannot be wrong, And I saw the movie and I was wrong and I was mad and I was like, ah. And then shut up Infinity War. And I was like, that's it. So that's the only thing I wanted to talk about in terms of Black Panther and the Soul Stone, because I thought maybe, someone, oh, it was just friend sent me a message. Someone can. Okay. Um. So I like the culture. Kind of the. I find it interesting. I'm still a little confused on the fighting for the crown. I'm that part throws me off a little bit. So I'm like, I read someone broke it down and like it made sense when I read it, but I didn't memorize it, and I've tried looking for it again and I can't find it. So that part just throws me off a little bit, kind of a little bit. Like everything else is pretty cool. I like how it's like actually based off of like African culture. Like I remember I looked around the time of this movie because whenever. Oh god. Because whenever a new Marvel movie comes out, I like to look up information on like. Sorry. Yeah. So whenever a new Marvel movie comes up, I like to look up information on like I've only started doing this recently, like 2015, sort of. And I didn't even really try that much in 2015 because anime came out. So I looked up like some stuff on San Francisco in the 2016. Like there wasn't really much I could have looked up in terms of Captain America. Oh God, I hate burps. I can't burp. I want to burp, but I can't. So there wasn't much I could have looked up on Captain America, and for Doctor Strange, it was like just New York, really, and I already kind of knew enough about New York to like really care about the like to care more, even more about the movies, you know, because like just I just know where the basic stuff is. Like, I don't really. I knew where the Avengers Tower was, but that's the point. For Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I looked up some stuff about like stars and galaxies, and I looked up like Milky Ways and stuff like that. And then Homecoming, I looked more into like I dived in a little bit more into like New York schools and stuff like that. And for Ragnarok, I remember that's when I really looked into Norse mythology a bit more, not that much though, just enough about like what Ragnarok was, and then Black Panther I looked into the African culture, and like I really liked the rings, like the rings in their lips. I thought that was cool. I thought it was interesting. And I was like, that's awesome. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw it in the Black Panther trailer, like those huge rings, I thought it was weird as hell. And I was like, that is super weird. But then I looked into it, and apparently, like, the bigger the ring is, like, the more, I forgot, like the more significant of a person you are, or like the more prominent you are in terms of like ranking of whatever hierarchy they have there. And I was like, that's awesome. And I remember like watching the movie. This is 2018. I forgot a good chunk of it now. And like 2018, like, oh, that's so cool. Like I learned something about that like a few weeks ago on my free time. I think I was in class too, and I should have been doing homework, but I looked up African culture facts just because of the movie. That's it. It's the only reason why I did it. I also like how creative they are with their vibranium. Like I thought it was so cool because like I remember like I knew like this is what 2017 when I think like the Black Panther news was getting more hype, and I was like, okay, like what can they do with vibranium, because it's just metal, like this is again 2017. I didn't know anything. I'm still learning a lot. Even now, there's so much I don't know. Oh, good God. Like, Scarlet Witch, she has such a really interesting history, and I really want to read Avengers Assemble, where she plays a very prominent role in that comic book, and apparently it takes place right before House of M, which I've read, and I've even read the What If. It's super cool. Not the point, though. Point is, there's a lot about the comics that I currently do not know, and, like, it's a lot. What was I saying, though? I'm so sorry. Oh, yeah, vibranium. And I was like, what else can you do with vibranium? Like if anything, like your vehicles are just like really indestructible. And like it was like, oh, it's woven in like their clothes and like their computers and stuff like that, and like whatever. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I wonder how it's going to like play out. And I saw the movie, and like they have force fields and everything, and like they had sneakers. I thought that was awesome. And I was like, when you put the shoes on, I was like, oh my God, Back to the Future. And then Sherry was like, it's like that old American film Baba used to watch. And I was like, oh my God, Back to the Future. So I thought that was awesome. I love Back to the Future. It's one of my favorite films. I saw it as a kid. It's awesome. Not the point, but yeah. And then like the oh good god. And then I was watching it again, obviously Monday, and when the I don't know what the ships are called, but when the ship just kind of like flew in, like I tried focusing a bit more on the city, and oh my god, it was really interesting. Like I saw a monorail like just going like super fast but not too fast, and then like hovering things, or everything was hovering, and like the buildings were like really interesting. They were like advanced, but they were like they still had like plants intertwined with them, so I thought that was really nice. And like and Ryan Coogler, the director, I know he put like a lot of effort into like mapping out a whole city and stuff like that. And I love it when people do way too much when they don't need to. Like I love the extra effort. And then he even has mapped out where the Avengers fought in Infinity War. I love it. I just love stuff like that. How like there's like an actual map of the city that is fake. I just think that's super cool. I love stuff like that. I don't know why. I just do. But yeah, I love it when people do like way too much when they don't need to, and like it shows that they care about the movie. You know. One thing that I didn't really like about the movie was the soundtrack. Not that I thought the soundtrack was bad. I thought the soundtrack was really great and it worked really well with the movie. I just don't like that kind of music. Like it's just not. Was it The Weeknd? Yeah. Whenever a new Marvel movie comes out and it comes out with the song that I don't like, I usually listen to it a few times to like get into it, and then like I watch the movie and I'm like, all right, I like the song. And then the soundtrack for Black Panther came out. I tried listening to it, I couldn't get into it. And I saw the movie and like still couldn't get into it. And I was like, the soundtrack is so cool. I know it's good. I know it's a good soundtrack, but it's just not my music. And I'm like, I really wish I could get into it, but I just can't. And also, one really big thing that bugs me about the soundtrack is that the soundtrack was made for the movie, but the soundtrack was in the movie. So then, like, does that mean there's a Black Panther movie within the Black Panther movie coming out with the same thing? So it's just stuff like that. Like, I hate stuff like that, but I thought the soundtrack was great in terms of movie. Like, I know Donald Glover. Donald Glover makes Childish Gambino. No, Childish Gambino makes really, really, really good music songs. I just don't like them because I just don't listen to his kind of music. But I watched one of his videos and I listened to the lyrics and like the beat. I forgot which one it was. Sweatpants? I don't know. But I saw one of his music videos and like it was really good, and I was like, Donald Glover is like a really talented person, which is why I started listening to his music like a few weeks ago. I just saw that one music video because like I knew he's really talented and like all the things he can do. Like wow, he directed Atlanta, and like he created Atlanta. Like Atlanta wants like some trophies. I don't know what they were. I don't want to say like Oscars and like it won a Tony or something. I don't know. So like I know it's won like a few awards. He was in Community, which is a show that I really really like. He's also in Homecoming, but like a minor role, and he's also Lando Calrissian, and I feel like he plays Lando Calrissian very very well, despite the movie not being very good from what I've heard. I've considered watching it just for Lando Calrissian. I feel like he really kind of like I don't think I'm not even talking about. Point is, I thought the soundtrack of the movie was great. I don't like the music. My personal taste. I can't appreciate it as well as other people. And I don't like how it was made for the movie, but it's in the movie, so does that mean it's in the movie? It's just like layers. So, I thought the soundtrack was really good. In terms of, once again. I also really liked Okoye and Shuri. I thought they were really great and awesome and funny in the sense where, like, Okoye's, like, very serious and she's like, and then Shuri is, like, bright and, like, you suck, your ideas are dumb, my ideas are better because I'm super smart, because she is. And I think they're both really cool, and I can't wait to see more of them in Black Panther 2. And it was really interesting kind of seeing how Okoye is handling the loss of Black Panther in Endgame, and it's going to be really interesting to see how the power dynamic plays into Black Panther 2 with Okoye not wanting to be ruler of Wakanda, losing the king, and then kind of taking over Wakanda, and then having to 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 step down to let T'Challa be king again, even though he's been gone for like 5 years. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that power dynamic plays out. I also really like how each movie, mostly Phase 3 movie, I really like how these movies have like keep expanding the Marvel universe. There you go. That was a burp. Finally burp. I really like how each Marvel movie kind of expands the universe and it makes it feel more like the comics, and I think that's awesome because in the comics, recently I've only recently started reading like a ton of more comics, a lot more comics, and sorry, I don't know what's up with me today, and uh, I think earlier last year I only read like two comics and I was like Superior Spider-Man and Miles Morales. Superior Spider-Man's awesome. That's not the point. And oh god. Okay. Um oh yeah, and I've recently started reading The Avengers current run by Jason Aaron, really good writer. And T'Challa in the comic books right now, he's like bankrolling the Avengers. He's funding the Avengers, and it's really interesting, kind of seeing Black Panther kind of being one of the main leaders of the Avengers because now he's like up front and center, and I think that's super cool. And he even has like his own team called Agents of Wakanda, and there's some gorilla dude. I don't know who his name is. It does a gorilla. I think Shuri and Okoye, and one former Avenger. I don't remember who, but it's a really interesting team. And another thing I didn't like about the movie is that they dumbed down T'Challa significantly from the comics, because in the comics he's super smart and he even builds his own Hulkbuster armor out of vibranium, and it's even better than Tony Stark's. And he did that like on his own. And then I feel like in the movies he couldn't. I mean, he could, but he himself could not. If that makes any sense. Like, he has a whole nation that could probably make it for him, but T'Challa himself could not do that. And in the comics, he can. And I kind of don't like that, because in the comics, he's really smart. And they just dumbed him down significantly in the movie. But whatever. Okay. So now, my mom's thoughts on the movie. She liked it. She liked this movie significantly better than Civil War. She thought this movie was nice and kind of like heartwarming, sort of in the sense. She did not like Killmonger though. She hated him. She called him ugly. She was like, "That guy's ugly," and I was like, "Why?" And it was like, "Because he's a jerk." I can't say the word because swear jar. Did I have my swear jar here for the first video? Oh, I'm gonna have to go back. Anyways. Yeah, so she did not like Killmonger. She thought he was like a jerk and he wanted to ruin everything. And I was like, that's not, and she was like, that's not good. You can't do that. And then she felt bad for him when she was shocked and she was like, whoa, like Black Panther's dad killed his dad and just left the kid there. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, that's sad. And I was like, yeah. She really didn't have a lot to say about this movie, which was kind of shocking. Oh, she just liked it a lot, and she thought it was like beautiful in the sense of I think in terms of Wakanda, because she got to see like the inside of Wakanda. So I think that's what she meant by beautiful. She was very happy for Bucky to be alive and well in the end credits scene. She was really happy for that. She was like, "Oh, that's so great to see that he's doing well," and that like they took all of the Hydra stuff out of his head. And I was like, "Yeah, it is." And then she was like, "That's still a lot of unresolved issues with him and Iron Man and Captain America, so they're gonna have to hash that out later." And I was like, "Oof, he dies next time you see him." I didn't tell her, but I just thought like they're not gonna hash it out at all. Oh, and then I think this is probably the last thing she probably said. For the first in the credit scene was the T'Challa going to the UN meeting and announcing that like Wakanda's gonna open the doors to the world. That's when the guy's like, oh, I saw it in Spanish, so he called Wakanda a farming country. I forgot what he says in English, but that's what it translated to in Spanish to English. So I think he said third world country. But anyways, he's like, oh, what does Wakanda have to offer the rest of the world? And my mom, she was like, ooh, he just like talked down to him, like he's gonna show him, he's gonna attack him, and she just saw that he saw, and she was like, oh well, he should have attacked him. And oh yeah, so when that happened, my mom was kind of like, that's not good, and I was like, what do you mean that's not good? We just spent the whole movie like seeing why it's bad that Wakanda has its doors closed because of Killmonger. Like Killmonger is like a direct effect of why them opening is a good thing. And she was like, yeah, but then everyone else is going to try to like break into Wakanda and like steal all their stuff. And I was like, oh, that's actually a really good point. And I was like, to be fair though, that already happened with Claw. And at first she didn't recognize him, so I had to explain. And she was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." And I was like, "It is cool." What the hell are we talking about? Oh yeah, so she was just worried on that part, and she was like, "Oh, like this, like did they ever like fix Wakanda or whatever?" And I was like, "Yeah, they fixed it." And like, "Oh, cool. Like when do we get to see it again?" I'm thinking Infinity War, but like they don't really focus on it. And I was like, "Oh, it's I just looked it up." So I liked her, of course. And yeah, I think that's about it. We're going to maybe watch Doctor Strange today. She wants to go back and revisit every movie and like write what happens in each one. So we're probably going to do that right before Infinity War because she hasn't done it. She's been meaning to, but she's like, it's too late. I should have been doing this like after each movie. But now we're going to start movie 17, and she's like, look, it's a little nervous about it or whatever. And she got mad at me because I don't tell her the names of the movies when we start them. I don't do it all the time. Like I just kind of put the movie on, and so she doesn't know what the movie's called. So that's on me. But we are going to hopefully watch Doctor Strange today, and I am a little worried about that one because that one's trippy as hell, and it took me a while to like figure some stuff out in terms of like. I mean, there was some stuff like I got right away, but like I also had to go back and revisit them to make sure I understood it well, and I was wrong on some parts. So yeah, Doctor Strange is next, and that was trippy as hell in terms of magic and like interdimensional energy and alternate dimensions and stuff like that, and time travel, sort of. Time travel is always so complicated to explain, and yeah. That's the end of my video. Stay awesome, stay groovy, stay safe. Once again, same thing. Any comments or questions you want to ask my mom about Endgame, feel free to message me.